Young people, I'm trying to have I don't know what that's called. I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to have something that I'm known for saying. I just don't know what the title is. Hold on, I'm trying to warm my hands. It's a little bit chilly in here. Oh, here, let me put this up here. I'm my own worst enemy. Alrighty then. Woo, that's much better. Alrighty then. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Help me get 1,000 subscribers, and I'll subscribe to your channel. I don't know what's going on, but when I used to go live, the chats down here around the bottom of the screen would scroll up, and then I could tap on, then I could scroll up and respond to them. I lost that. I don't know, maybe I wasn't doing YouTube videos, but I think I was, because my subscriptions started to go up. So, because I was doing that. So, if anybody knows, I did send a request to YouTube to figure out what their problem was. I went through the chat, enable, stuff like that there, but it's just not coming up on my screen. And you know what it's like navigating through YouTube. So anyway, I digress. So do you know what a prepper is? A prepper is someone who is prepared for blackouts, emergency situations, okay? They're like off-grid people, stuff like that. They're conspiracy theorists. But basically, they're prepared for stuff that you and I might not be prepared for. Because we, as a society, believe it or not, I mean, I know there's someone that you could think of that you know that's dependent on what society can provide. These are people who, I mean, there's nothing against them. Everybody ain't supposed to be a CEO, okay? Regular people like us, they've taken away our ability to feed ourselves. You know, back in the day, you could go to a tree, pull off an apple, and I know you could, because when we were younger, my mom owned a house that she got from her parents, which was a disaster because she was married, and the man, I guess my dad, he wasn't really a homeowner material. Okay, so we ended up losing a house. To this day, we could have a house that we could have lived in. And you know what, believe it or not, I ended up years later getting a girlfriend that lived right across the street from there. Who knew? Who knew? There are things in life that you just can't make up. And I didn't know her because of the age we were. We didn't go anywhere without our parents at that age. So like under, what, 9? 9 years old, I guess. But we had trees in our yard. We had a pear tree, and we probably had an apple tree. And what was significant about it was stuff would fall to the ground, or the fruit would fall to the ground. And my mom, she didn't really encourage us to go out there and clean up the yard and pick up that fruit, which she could have sat outside, and instead of getting us to sell Kool-Aid, we could have sold apples and uh, the other fruit that we had. And, of course, we could have sold Kool-Aid. And, since it was in the neighborhood and we weren't possibly going to have any Karens in it, we probably could have sold stuff. But it got so bad for us, and my mom was so helpless. Our gas got turned off because our dad, he had two families. We had half brothers and half sisters, so he wasn't there and he wasn't much of support. But to be of good cheer, you can't be mad at people who don't have the ability to raise their kids. Raising kids is a monster, okay? Especially if those kids are monsters. Yeah, you think they're cute and cuddly and everything, but when they get out in public, them jokers are here. I digress. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Kids aren't, when they're outside, they're not. When they're outside the home, they might not be the same as when they are. All right, so for the people who are coming in, the reason why I'm not responding to you coming in is because the chats on the end or down here, the chats aren't coming up down here. It's not scrolling. I'm not seeing when people are coming in the room, so I can't respond to you. But if you can, like and subscribe to my channel until I get YouTube to help me get that function back, because I don't know what I did. I was doing great with it. My subscriptions went up. I got maybe, I don't want to exaggerate, but I got maybe 20 subscriptions because I was able to respond to people as they were coming into the room. After I got my message out, of course. There was a professor, he was long-winded, and he was alumni, so every year they would ask him to give the alumni speech. So since they knew that he was long-winded, they wanted to give him a topic, and they wanted to give him a time limit to give the alumni speech on that topic. He agreed. Time for the alumni gathering. He gave the speech that they prepared for him, or set out for him, and then he said at the end of that, "And now for my regular speech." So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, that was hilarious. And I know it was kind of frustrating for the people at the time who thought they got him, but there's always a way around something. And this is what I want to encourage you young people to do. When they did that to him, he didn't get frustrated. And I don't want you to get frustrated because you try something and it doesn't work. Oh, well, I can't find a job. Okay? Well, chances are pretty good the places that you were looking probably weren't the places that you should have been looking. Or they hired somebody else. To be fair, you could have been perfectly suited for the job that you were applying for. But like anything else on this planet, you're not the only one trying to get the same thing. We are all squirrels trying to get a nut so we could have something stored away for the winter. Okay? So, this year, I want you to plan for the winter. Okay? Think about what could possibly happen. You got to kind of be like Moses. He planned for rain. They never had rain before. And whether it's a true story or not, the principle is the same. The principle is the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. Okay? So plan for something that you use your imagination. Okay? People who are dependent we kind of look at them like, oh, you're on welfare, or oh, you're this, or oh, you're that. The only thing I could tell you is, like my mom, she had all these kids, and we had fruit trees and stuff. I mean, look, how many apples can you eat? Okay, but when you're hungry, you could eat a lot of them jokers if that's all you have. Okay, but you would never really be hungry. You would just be probably sick and tired of apples because we had that apple tree. Okay, but people in society, they don't allow us to grow trees like that anymore. Maybe you're in the area where they do, but if you're in like a suburb area or something, go ahead and plant a tree or an apple tree, and you're gonna learn, okay? Because they have people in society that are police. So they don't self-police themselves; they police everybody else. You know, we call them Karens or whatever. So what we want to do is plan on planting a seed. Why would they have all these seeds available for regular people? You can go to the store and buy, if they don't perceive that there's a place where you can plant it. Okay. Now they have some apple trees and the other kind. Why can't I remember the other kind of tree? We had two types of trees. Let me write that down so that way, if I hem and haw on it again. Okay. Apple tree and a pear tree. All right, I'll say an apple tree and a pear tree is what we had. All right. So if we couldn't sell those in our yard, there may have been somewhere that we could sell them, like the water boys who stand on the corner selling them bottles of water. I just want to say to you parents that have children who do that, the term is water boys. So I haven't really seen a lot of girls that do that, but maybe they could. I need you to get a vendor's permit or a peddler's permit. And then that way, the police know you're there. You pay the little fee, and they won't run the kids off the corner. They can make a significant amount of money. There's nothing new under the sun. It just used to be Kool-Aid stands, only they tend to be on a corner. I like the idea that there's typically more than one of them, so we don't have to worry about them coming up missing or anything, but because they're there by themselves or something. And they seem old enough on the face value of them that they're not going to get in the van, you know what I'm saying? Because somebody offered them a Reese cup. But anyway, there's nothing new under the sun. We used to have car washes. That got us in a lot of trouble with the landlord when he got his water bill. But we didn't know. It probably wouldn't have been so bad if we had a hose that had a nozzle on it. But we didn't have that kind of hose. We had a kind of hose that when you turn the water on, it's on until you turn it off, and it's just running. So one little thing that if you are a first time a home buyer, and if you're younger, you pay for the water coming into your house, and you pay for the water coming out of your house. The chances are pretty good you're not paying as much for the water going out of your house because there's not as much, going out. You're probably using some of it, but a significant amount of what you waste is comparable to the amount of water that came in. All right, so I guess that's why they came up with cleansers and stuff like that there, so you don't have to use water so much. There's always a solution. All right, and that's what I want to encourage you new people and you young people to do. Look for a solution. Look for a way to benefit from it. Okay, so full stop. All right, so look for a way to get better instead of that one step forward, two steps back. Okay, stop falling into that. We're going to fall into that is because they made our society dependent, and it's going to get even more dependent because they're coming up with what is those cities? I think it's called smart cities. They're coming up with those. Holy moly, talking about being dependent. A smart city, some of the designs you won't even be able to drive a car in it. You might be able to get on one of those electric scooters or something, but the streets are going to be blocked off with those cement poles or something, or they might have metal ones that go up and down or something like that there, so you can't go down the street. So it's the chances of it going that way is greater than having a 15-minute city that everybody has access to. The 15-minute cities are going to be for people who live in the 15-minute cities. All right? You can't take a tour, and if you do take a tour or something, you won't be able to walk through it because you're going to get that, well, what are you doing in our neighborhood? And they're going to try to lasso you and run you out of the neighborhood. You don't want that. Because these people are going to be paying a significant amount of their income to stay there. And they don't want you to just come past and come through and be looking through their windows. You guys are adults. You see how those kinds of situations play out. All right, so we're going to have a lot of that in the future. So, full stop on that. I was thinking about the winter that's coming up on Sunday, the winter storm that's coming up on Sunday, and how many people it actually is going to affect, and for how long. All right, so what do you have prepared? When Moses went to try to get his people out of slavery, he wasn't prepared. So he asked the boss of him, what am I supposed to do? Hold on, I got a construction crew right outside my station here. So I guess it's going to get pretty loud a little later on. I'm down the week, but I'll try to finish this up real quick because they're working right here. Okay. They're actually going the other way, but they're starting here, moving away from the booth. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm prepared for it. I'm going to go get in the car. Okay, so that's my idea, is to get you guys to prepare for stuff and to prep for stuff. The neighborhood I live in, it's known to me to have blackouts. If it rains too hard, if it snows too hard, tree branches fall on the power lines and stuff like that there. If you're just coming in the room, subscribe to my channel, please. I need to get 1,000 subscribers. If you subscribe to my channel, I'll subscribe to yours. All right, hold on. I'm just going to take this show into the car now. Alright, this ain't happening. They're so close I can actually feel the scrape. Alright, here's my situation. Alright. He's right here. Here's my station. And he's right here. So I don't know if he's working his way down this way or... Oh yeah, looking at the... Yeah, he's working his way down. So I'm going to have to I'm going to have to go inside my booth. I have to move. All right. Ooh, hold on. I need to do that. So we're going to move this show. Let's move this show over here. I could probably still hear it, but there's not going to be that scraping noise like it is on a... All right, that's better. Now I'm actually on the other side of the backhoe or whatever it is, and I can hardly hear. So what I did was I moved over here. All right, so there's always solutions. All right, so there's my station. It's behind that little blue car. I can't see it, but it's over there. There's the troublemaker, and this is where I moved to. So, young people, new people, there's always a solution. It would be terrible if I wasn't able to move from there. Okay, and I have PTSD, you know what I'm saying? I don't need any stressors. PTSD, anything will stress you. Anything will stress you. You don't know what a stressor is. I'm a Vietnam era veteran, and we went to see the Vietnam era memorial. Everything was pretty cool until we got there. And this one guy went off on the bus because of the stressors. I did not see that one coming. But the Vietnam Memorial Wall, it's all right. It's beautiful. I may not be as pumped up about it as the people who made it because of the idea that it brings back to me. All right, now where's Ryan? I can't believe I didn't bring my notes. All right, so anyway, I'm going to keep this short. All right, so I want you to be prepared for stuff. My neighborhood is known for having blackouts under certain situations. It'll happen every time. Some of them are short-lived, and some of them are, hey, how long is it going to be? You want to call the light company or something. They actually have a website for an emergencies to let you know their progress that they're making on fixing the lines or repairing the lines and stuff like that. Okay? All right. I always wanted to get one of these. I used to see the kids running around with them, and I was like, you know what, you look dangerous. Until I finally picked up what they were putting down. And this is actually good for being out in cold weather. Who knew? I always thought they were cool, but I didn't levitate toward them because they seem, if you see somebody wearing something like this, it's kind of intimidating. But not if you're cold, it ain't. Okay? That reminds me, how come I cannot keep a pair of gloves? Well, why is that? I cannot begin to tell you how many pairs of gloves I bought this year. Sheesh. And I shouldn't have to buy gloves. Because it seemed like one pair would last you. But anyway, I digress. So, I want to wrap this up. So every year we have the blackout. So you can take it to the bank. All right. Why is it that this is not staying over my nose? Probably because I got that big black nose. Sheesh. I'm going to have to take a look at this. Okay, so, all right, so every year we have the blackouts, and I mean community-wide. I don't mean just a block, all right, or just a portion. The ones I'm talking about are neighborhood-wide. So we had one, and it was taking a while for them to restore the service. So I decided, well, let me go walking around and see if anybody else is out of power. I seen two people who were prepared. One was at least prepared for the porch because they had a light, and they had a light on the porch, and it looked like the family members, like quite a few of them were on the porch trying to be under the light. Everybody knows about candles, okay? But this was a light. Now, so that was one direction. And I didn't want to go too far past the light. Go into the light. So I didn't want to have any of those experiences. So I turned around and I went the other way. And I could see off in the distance another light because it was that dark. It was pitch dark, okay? So I went toward that light. And this gentleman probably had a generator because his whole house was lit up. And you could see him walking around. That's how dark it was. You could see him moving around. And I think that was because he was going on the side of caution, and he was just outside so people can see, hey, somebody's in here. So, I say all that to say is, there's a whole religion that believes we're going to have another 3 days of darkness. And I bet you that religion is prepared for 3 days of darkness. Alright, and if it's anything like the first 3 days of darkness, the presumption is go into your house. Do not come out for 3 days. And here's the sad part. Because people like us, we want to help. Come on in, come on in. You have to do like Noah's Ark. When that door closed, nobody else was getting in there. And in theory, when that door closed, it was so big, because it was taking animals 2 by 2, two elephants, unless they went in single file. Anyway, I digress. That door was so heavy, only the creator of heaven and earth could close that door. So that's what life is like. When the Most High or karma closes a door on you, there's nothing you can do. You're not opening that. Okay? Now look at these people. I'm sick of these people. Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought they were making a move on me. Okay. And it's starting to work on the other side. Alright. Where is that thing at? So now they're on the other side, but I believe what he's actually doing was he's just changing. I think he's just changing the scooper. I don't know. Alright, looks, now he's going to turn around. Alright, now he's going to go back that way and make the noise. Alright, because, geez, I felt some type of way, like he was moving over where I was to make sure I got the noise, you know what I'm saying? I digress. Okay, so where I left off, so what's it? The guy ended up having power, and everybody else didn't. And out of all the people in the neighborhood, it appears that nobody had a generator except for him. And if they did, they were not using the light around the windows. Okay, because the rule is, in 3 days of darkness, don't let anybody in. Alright, I gave you the example with Noah's Ark. So if this is a prophecy, and if it happens, like, let's just say, for example, Sunday on the 26th or something like that there, If the 3 days of darkness starts on that, and for us it'll be because the grid went down. It might not be because of the moon got covered by the Holy Spirit or something like that. There, for them that know, okay, uh, it'll be the same rule. Okay, you want to be like that, like the tortoise. Oh no, you want to be like the, wait a minute, not the rabbit and the hare. Right? One is fast and one is slow in that story. You want to be like the one who stored up. You want to be like the squirrel. You want to have stuff stored up so when the 3 days of darkness comes, okay, you got your food in there, you got your lights in there, you got heat in there. While you're out and about today, go past Kmart or something and get you a propane heater. Okay? Uh, they used to be big. They used to be like kerosene heaters. All right. So I have a couple 16-ounce propane cans, so I could have some heat. I haven't reached a level where I'm ready to try the big gray containers of propane. I don't know why I'm hemming and hawing, but I think that I could probably get one of those big containers and a bigger container, like one of those gray ones, and probably hook it to this little propane heat and replace the 16-ounce propane heater with that big gray one that you can refill. The problem with the 16-ounce ones is you can't refill them. And I don't know, you can't just put them in the trash. They might, be like lithium batteries or something. Ooh, holy moly! So I came up with a solution, but I kind of caused myself another problem. So I got the propane heater, but so today I'm going to do a little research and see if the nozzles or the connectors on the gray propane heaters are the same as the connectors for the propane. Blah blah blah. All right, so there's one thing that might help you to give you a solution. Remember to get some canned food. Everybody should have an abundance of canned food because the food bank will give you canned food. Okay? Now I want you to kind of look. I don't want you to wait for the last minute. Okay? Find out if there's a warming center and get closer to that because when the power goes out, because we're snowed in or something, because the wires and stuff fell or whatever, because the snow fell on the wires and of course the wires fell or the snow made the branches so heavy, they landed on the wires or something. You don't want to be looking for a warming center. All right, chances are pretty good at this point you probably shouldn't even be outside. Okay? 0 degrees. And I want you to know, I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking because this year, I'm pretty sure we've had 0 degree weather once. Okay? So that was a warning shot. Okay? So now this one, they say, is supposed to last for 3 days. To be fair, the snow and stuff is going to be moving because that's just the nature of clouds and storms. They just pass through. But the weather doesn't. Okay? All right. So the storm they pass through, but all right, and take the storm clouds with it, but there's other clouds. So they may still be covering the sun. So it might not heat up. All right, come on, people. Get some kind of plan. I know you're dependent on society. They planned it that way. Maybe it was their response to help you out. I don't know. it is helpful that we have these kind of support systems, but and all things considered, we were doing okay doing it ourselves. Remember, with the log cabins and the firewood and stuff like that. There, what happened to those days? Now if you're doing something like that, it's called off grid. So, uh, they tried to have a white only town once, and it would have been similar to that. But remember, even the Amish has some form of electricity on their farms. So, yeah, you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. All right, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I want you to remember that there's a creator of heaven and earth. If you could find a way to communicate with him, if you could find a way to listen to what his spirit is saying to the church, and the church doesn't have to be a building, it doesn't have to be the Catholics, Baptists, Methodists. That's not the church. Those are denominations. You and I are the church. And some of us know when he's communicating with us, and some of us don't. So I want you to try to find a way to hear what the Creator is saying to the church, to the rest of us, basically, is what it's saying. All right, and be prepared. The last time we had 3 days of darkness, somebody told everybody, pass the word, hey, take the blood of the lamb and put it over your doorpost and don't come out. Kill the lamb, take the blood, put it over your doorpost, and eat the lamb. So, he didn't mean a baby lamb. I mean, a lamb kind of, you might think, small. But lambs back then were a little bit bigger. I understand that lamb means baby sheep or something like that there. But chances are pretty good. If you didn't have a lamb, but you had a sheep, chances are pretty good you're going to eat that. Ooh, okay, so, there's ways to interpret this thing. Don't not kill the sheep because you can't, blah blah blah. You guys are adults. Okay, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I feel so bad that I'm not getting this scroll and hearing you, seeing you all's comments and have a chance to speak with you. I know that there are some of you here. I can sense it. Okay. There's someone whose name starts with UN or at UN something, and there's someone on here whose name starts with CUL. Okay. I could click on it, but nothing happens. Okay, so I have a love for you that's a little bit different than the love that you've learned about. There is love that's greater than the love you have for your wife. There's a love that's greater than the love you have for your spouse or your family members. I have this kind of love for you, so I don't have to apply those kinds of limiting loves. And you have to remember, marriage is a man thing, because the Bible says in heaven there is no giving in marriage. Remember the example when they tried to tempt the one or test the one named Jesus. They gave him that story about a lady married 10 brothers. They all died. When she gets to heaven, whose husband will she be? And I know this answer came straight from the Holy Spirit, because only the Holy Spirit can give you these kind of answers. Ooh, he said, in heaven there is no giving in marriage. So the love that we have in our relationships is problematic at best. I mean, we love her, but it's going to be problematic because they tried to do something with Moses. He's like, hey, I don't like my wife anymore. So Moses allowed them to give a certificate of divorce. Now, if God hates divorce and Moses is out here giving people instructions for divorce, the reason why he did that is because, we got all this love in our marriage and stuff like that there, but he did that because of the hardness of our heart. We're just gonna. There's a story about a guy back in them days. If your brother died, you had to marry his wife, or at the very least, you had to take her and take care of her, because back then women couldn't get a job. All right, all right. So this one gentleman, he didn't like his brother's wife, and I could see that. And he clearly didn't want to take care of her because, chances are pretty good he had a chance to marry her. But she's just the kind of woman that he wouldn't have picked. He just didn't like her. So so he wanted a relationship with her. So he made a relationship with her with benefits. But he didn't want her to bear children by him. So back then, that was a death knell for a woman that couldn't have children, particularly sons. Okay. Back then, if you got a wife, you had to come up with some type of monetary thing to replace her worth in the family, young people. So if you marry someone and if you take them away from the family, the family could have benefited from her staying in the family. But now you're going to take her. So with that, it's called a dowry. But you all don't want to do that anymore. You just want your relationships with benefits, and you're not really considering when you marry somebody. You're marrying into a family, or in a family. They got a whole structure, and here you are coming in, and you want her to do what you want to do. The man is the head of the household and stuff. So you skipped a couple steps. Don't skip a couple of steps. Do all the steps. You are marrying into a family. All right, just like Jacob found out when he was trying to marry Rachel. Okay. He married into Laban's family. And Laban was a slick dude. And he knew that at this young man's age, he could propagate this type of situation where he would have to marry both. So he only wanted Rachel. He saw both of them. He picked Rachel. Okay? But what Laban decided to do was, okay, you can marry her if you work for me for 7 years. See the value part of a woman? Okay, which he did. 7 years is over, he's ready. He didn't have a relationship with Rachel with benefits for 7 years. So then, it was time for them to get married. It was a little different back then. Okay? They were actually dressed for the wedding night. For us, we were undressed. We naked as a jaybird. so we're doing things opposite. So this is one of our problems with relationships. There's a way that works. It wasn't broken, but that's just the nature of the deceiver. He wants to know, hey, well, why don't you eat this? You'll be like God, knowing the good and bad, or good and evil, or something like that. Okay, you'll be like God. Well, that's what we're doing. Okay, I mean, how many people do you actually hear that say, I am God? Okay, I don't know. They could be. From their experience and whatever the Holy Spirit is working with them on, hey, that might be something completely legitimate. Okay? That's between them and the Creator, not me. All right, so what Laban did was he said, okay, here's the wife. It's your wedding night. I'm going to go with the guy who couldn't have been older than 17. All right. And if he worked for Rachel, he probably wasn't more than 21. Okay. Because the rule is you want to hire somebody to be a CEO for your company that's younger than 25 because their mind is still palpable. They don't have a closed mind. All right, so they're easier to teach. You would not want to hire me to be a CEO. I'll go in there like rock and roll, and I'll be like, "You're fired, you're fired." Like the Orange Man, he went in there and he shook him up, didn't he? He said he was going to clean the swamp. The problem is we like some of the things that the people in the swamp were doing for us. So, blah blah blah. All right, so let's get back to the story. So he had the wedding night and everything, and then they would undress. And then when he undressed, he found out, wait a minute, this is Leah. I went at Rachel. So here's what the deceiver do. He's good at this. So he said, well, we have a tradition. You have to marry the oldest daughter first. I know like he was feeling some type of way, but what could he do about it? So Laban said, okay, tell you what. If you don't like Leah, you could work for me for another 7 years, and then you could have Rachel. You need to read that story. It's really pretty interesting because he did end up coming up with a solution, and he got out of that situation. But he was in it for 14 years. So you got to figure if he started when he was about 16 or 17 for 14 years, he was like 30 before he got out of that situation. And he came out pretty well, okay? Which left Laban, holding the bag, But, all right, so I don't want to tell you the whole story. I want you to watch it, okay? All right, so that's my story. I'm going to stop jaw-jacking, and I want you all to know that I would appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. I will subscribe to yours. Okay, love ya.